So here we go then for raising money masterclass. So tonight is all about raising private investor funds, and I'm going to be telling you why you need to do it as a tool if you want to scale a property portfolio. It's really, really important that you master this skill. So before we get stuck in, what I want you to do is just first and foremost, a couple of things. If you take a screenshot and tag me on Instagram, I will send you the recording notes from this whole masterclass, plus the link to rewatch it, and also I'll send you a copy of my deal analyzer. If you just tag me at Ryan K Luke 84 on Instagram with some feedback, a bit of a testimonial, anything like that will be super beneficial, and I'll send that straight over to you afterwards. So as we dive in, I think first and foremost, just type in the chat kind of where you are in your property journey so I can just get a bit of a feel for who we've got in the room. So whether you're just starting, whether you're already invested, if you can just kind of let me know, it'll give me a good idea of kind of who's in the room and ultimately how to take this masterclass to make sure that it's the best way forward. So just start out in deal sourcing. You need to stick around to the end because I'm going to mention something about deal sourcing later on. Okay, great. So got a lot of beginners. Fantastic. Perfect deal sourcing, 6 months saving and learning. Done a lot of training. All right, amazing. All right, cool. So we've got a good mix, which is good. Right. What if I told you, right, that the only thing standing between you and a thriving property portfolio isn't a lack of savings, which most people think it is, but it's actually a lack of the right skill to raise money from private investors? Would you agree with me or would you disagree with me on that one? So the thing that is holding you back is not savings. It is the skill of actually raising money from other people. So tonight I'm going to show you why this one skill is like an absolute must master if you want to escape the grind and build real wealth. So just a quick backstory. I was hooked after my first BRR completion. So like buy, refurbish, refinance, all money out deals. Back in 2019 when I started. I didn't believe it until I saw the first transaction go through. So there was the buying side of it, the refurbing, and then even until the day my solicitors put the money back in my bank account from the refinance, I didn't really believe that this was actually possible. However, after that day, I was literally hooked because my first deal was an all money out deal. So I was like, I've just bought a house, now I've got all my money back. This is amazing. However, after the third one, I started to tie money up. It's not easy to get all your money back out. It's probably getting more and more difficult. And after the third one, I got money tied up. However, I could see the benefit in what I was doing, so I didn't want to stop buying. Like I could see the power of it. I could see how I was going to get into building a lot of wealth, and I just did not want to stop doing it. So I started thinking of ways that I could create structures and deals to use private investor money. And that's kind of what I came up with. Obviously, I did a bit of research, and there's many ways to do it, and I'm going to go over a few ideas tonight. But there's so many different ways to do it because the banks will only lend you so much. Kent Reliance, I think it was Kent, might have been one of the other lenders. I think after I had about 5 or 6 mortgages with them, they actually then said, we're not going to lend to you for quite a period of time until we've seen the rental income coming in from the portfolio. So even mortgage lenders, when you're doing well, actually start to restrict your borrowing. So, that becomes a problem as well. And you're going to need like 25 or 30% deposits on every single property that you buy, which just in the reality of most people's situation, and I say this all the time, but it doesn't matter how much money you've got, you will always run out of money buying property. You cannot possibly save 25 to 30% from other income sources and move fast. Like I, at the time of started buying, was earning 6 figures in my job. However, I didn't have any savings. By the time you paid tax, by the time I paid for, my kids, my mortgage, all that sort of stuff, like there's not much left. So I couldn't physically buy 25 percent deposits when from that income. So over the next few years, I borrowed 2 million and I added about 20 properties to my portfolio. So from a literal standing start, very new in the game, very little experience, I then managed to raise 2 million and buy about 20 properties over, that period of time. So one thing that really hit home is how slow borrowing for banks is and savings versus actually going to other people that have got money, and I'm going to tell you what type of people later on, and borrowing the money from them. So from my point of view, like without private money, you'll always end up trading time for money. Like I would not have been able to get out of my job, replace my income, if I could not have bought all these deals. And I couldn't have bought them by just doing what I was doing, by, trying to save up some money, even if it was, and I went into the rent to rent game thinking, oh, I'll save some money on my rent to rents and then I'll buy assets. Even that is a slow process, okay? Because rent to rents, don't make massive amounts of money, if anything at all. So it really is life changing when you unlock private money to be able to then scale your own portfolio. And even this last year, so 2024, I decided in 2024, I wasn't going to actually use private investor funds. I was just going to use the company trading profits. Plus, I had some personal funds coming back from a house sale of mine. So I thought I don't want to pay the interest. I'm just going to use my own money. Now, that actually cost me 2 deals because with delays in refinances, a project overran. I then couldn't complete in time because I didn't have the money back out because I was buying multiple houses at once. So I lost out on 2 deals by not raising the money. Now, if I put that into perspective for you, okay, every deal that I put on now on my ContractorBnB strategy makes about 2K net income per month. Okay, so 24,000 per year each and every property that I put onto the market. Okay, and I would say I create somewhere between I would say 30 to 40 grand of equity in the property from the minute that I put it on. Worst case scenario, probably 15, 20. Okay, so by not raising money last year, it cost me 2 deals. Those 2 deals have meant that I am not going to have an extra 50K income this year, next year, and every year thereafter. And it also means I've got 2 properties that haven't got 30K worth of equity in each, 60K on average, and therefore that's not going to appreciate. Okay, so the cost of not actually raising money last year, even though I had funds to invest, is actually catastrophic. Now, if I times that, okay, if that happened to me over the next 10 years, I would own 20 less houses. I'd be leaving 500K a year income on the table and over 2 million in equity with then capital appreciation, okay, or including the capital appreciation. So I just want to kind of get you used to what is the potential of this when you unlock it and what you are leaving on the table by not learning this skill set. And I think the reason that I think the reason traditional methods don't work is like before I started, I always wondered, like, how do these people buy property by putting 25% down and then they're making a few hundred quid as a landlord on a buy-to-let strategy and they're wealthy? And I just could not figure it out. This is well before I started my property research. And I was just like, how do people do this? Like, how do they possibly just keep saving 25% deposits and keep putting it down? Then I discovered BRR and I was like, okay, that makes sense. People have one pot of cash and then they spin it through more and more properties. Okay. But then obviously I realized money gets tied up. So then I was like, people obviously get stuck. Then I discovered raising money. Like raising money is like the steroid injection for BRR. So BRR is great. And if you've got some savings, fantastic. You can do it yourself. If not, you can raise money from day one. But BRR with raising private money is like, BRR on steroids. All right. So most of you are probably thinking, because a lot of you are brand new in here, you mentioned that before this morning, earlier on. So why on earth would private investors lend money? So I want to dive into the mindset of private investors so you can understand exactly why you can leverage this as a tool. and ultimately how you can use it for your benefit. But this is also not just about our benefit. This is their benefit as well. This is a pure win-win situation, and that's why it works, and that's how you will be able to unlock it and raise your own money. So there's a massive pool of people out there, like everyday professionals, business owners, retirees who have money sitting in savings accounts or pensions earning them next to nothing. Now, these people, they want to grow their wealth, but they don't have the time, they don't have the knowledge, and they certainly don't have the experience to do it themselves. And these are the perfect type of people for us to tap into and work with. And the reason that they trust property investments is that property is one of the safest and most proven investment vehicles that I think is in time, not just my opinion, not just my experience. Unlike the stock market, property is tangible. There's something there. It has intrinsic value. It provides a predictable return. Even in bad markets, you can still make properties work. Case in example, even in COVID, my portfolio was still making money. Contractors were still allowed to travel in COVID. Now, COVID was like probably the apocalypse for short-term rental industry. Yeah, hospitality shut down. Most suffered for years and years and years. We still had the contractors. They were still allowed to travel. So, even in the worst and bleakest of times, I remember my dad once saying to me, like, son, if your portfolio has just got through that, it can pretty much get through anything. And I do believe that that is true. And it's because of the exit strategy, the contractor B&B side of it, paired with the right purchasing side of it. But to be able to get to that point, we need to be able to fund the deals. But the reason that private investors love this type of deal is because it feels secure. And that is exactly why they would lend to you, even as a beginner, because they invest in the deal, not just you. In fact, I would even say that they invest more in the deal than you. So, like your experience, whether you're a beginner or not, I don't really think it matters. Remember, I said before, I managed to raise 2 million in like literally 2 years from a very, very novice point of view. Okay. But it's the way that you stack up the numbers. Like the deal itself will give them confidence. And a good deal, in my opinion, is always better than experience. Well, not better, but it's not as important as your experience level in this industry. And I see it time and time again, not only from my students, but from other people online who are, getting into this brand new, and then they're able to raise money for their first deal, having no experience whatsoever. Okay, so I think also why investors love this is there's a clear return with low risk, and you can protect their money in many ways with first and second charges, but it is low risk for them. And they only care about one thing, and that is literally like what's in it for them. So if you can present a clear plan that shows how their money is secured and how they'll earn a strong return, they'll listen to you. And even if you're new, they will listen to you, and they will take note of what's on offer. So typically, you will secure their investment against the property itself that you're buying, especially at the beginning. As you get a bit more experience, you can use loan notes and cut certain things out and speed certain things up. But at the beginning, you can give a first charge against the property itself, or a second charge if you're going to pair it with maybe some other type of finance. And that means if something goes wrong, they have a tangible asset to get their money back. Now, remember, we are buying below market value properties because that's how BRR works. Okay, so for those that don't understand buy, refurbish, refinance, jump on my YouTube channel. There's plenty of stuff on there that explains it. But in effect, we buy a below market value property, we refurbish it, then we get it revalued, and then we put a mortgage on that, and that pays us back, and then we pay off all of the money. So worst case scenario, you borrow money off someone, you go skint, or you run off, or something happens, okay? But they've got a first charge on that property. That means they own the title deed. That means they pretty much own that property. They could then, because you've bought it below market value, you could go back to the market or the investor, sorry, could go back to the market, they could give it to an estate agent, they could sell it and cut their losses and get out. Most of the time, they will, get out unscathed or, at a very small loss. That security means that they are willing to take a risk, which is a very small risk, on lending somebody the money. Okay. And that is why they will lend you money. And that is why you have to get your head around borrowing money from other people and why it's a good thing. And that's how you will scale your property portfolio, because you are solving a problem for them. Like, they want their money to work for them, and you offer them a solution that's better than letting it sit in the bank earning minimal interest. Like, the UK, the banks, you earn nothing. Pension funds, you earn nothing. There's very few returns. All right, if you stuck it in crypto in the last 6 months, you might have made some money. But there's also times where if you stuck it in crypto, like I did 5 years ago at the peak, I've had to wait for 5 years just to get back to break even. Okay, it's not as safe. It fluctuates. It's very volatile. Property is proven time and time again to go up in value over time. It's tangible. They can touch it. They can feel it. They can sell it. Okay, and that is what makes this very, very interesting to people who have money sat in the bank account. Now, you're probably thinking, well, I don't know anyone with money. Money is all around us when we look for it. And as I say to most of my students, like, I guarantee you have probably over 7 figures in your phone book connected in some sort of way. Okay. I think the world's fully connected by 3 people or something daft like that. But you will have enough people in your phone book that will give you the leverage that you need to be able to unlock your money. If not, there's plenty of strangers out there who are sat on money. Like, there are so many different networks, there's so many different groups, there's so many different types of people that have money. You'd be surprised when you tap into this and when you start to learn the skill and when you open the conversations with the right people, that who actually has money around you. A lot of people don't tell people how much money they've actually got until they're presented with an offer that is going to make sense to them to be able to grow that money. And that's when they come forward and say, oh, by the way, I've got 100 grand. Oh, by the way, I've got 150 grand sat in my bank account. Oh, by the way, I've got 75 grand. Oh, by the way, I'd be interested in that. And then these conversations start to lead to, deals. And then ultimately you've found your investors and then you can then leverage them. So, like, one of my students, Mel, she found a property just before the Christmas period, and she's raised the full money. She's raised 100% of the money within weeks from Facebook, from a total stranger, just using the strategies that we discussed. And, I gave her the confidence to go and find the deal, agree the deal before she'd even had the funds secured. And my ethos on that is, if you find a good deal, you'll always find the money. And I'm that confident in that because I've done it over and over and over again. And as I said, I kind of explained earlier, it's tangible, it's safe. People want an interest on their money. So if you've got a good deal and it stacks and you can present that clearly, then they will buy that deal from you. They will buy into that deal and allow you to borrow the funds if it's presented correctly. So, like, she now knows how to do it, and we'll just repeat that process. We actually had a call today. We laid out her plans for this year. She said she wants to buy 10 houses in 3 years. Is that achievable? I was like, absolutely, that's achievable. We could quite comfortably get 3 on the bounce on top of the 1 this year. We know what we're doing now. We just need to now, continue to raise the money. And the good news is, what I've found is, you actually only need a few investors to build a multi-7-figure portfolio, because the way that I structure deals with the investors that I work with, I give them a monthly drip. So they're getting paid every month. So when the project, say, comes to an end in 9 months' time, they're then like, what's next? Because they get so used to this income coming in every month that they don't want it to stop. So they want their money to stay in play. They want their money to be reused. So when you get a handful of them, you probably don't even need a handful, 2 or 3 good investors, you can spin, let's just say each one of them's got 100 grand each. You've got 300 grand in your hand. You can spin that through a lot of property in the majority of locations. And done correctly, buying the right asset, leveraging the exit strategy, ContractorBnB, you're going to create high cash flow, which gives you more exit options and quicker timeframes to pay your investors off. And the whole thing comes together and just really, really, really works. So, like, I want you to imagine, like, I want you to imagine like you've found a deal and you know that you can just move on it. You can agree it with the agent and you don't have to worry about how you'll fund it. That's a position that like you genuinely can get to where you just go out and find deals. Like I've had my team out on viewings end of last week and they've been on a lot of viewings already this week. I've already bought a property this week. I've just put an offer in today for another one. Like I am hell for leather on buying properties. And I know I don't know whether anyone watched my latest YouTube video, but I kind of broke it down exactly how I'm going to fund it all. I know exactly how much I need to use from my money. I know how much money I need to raise. Okay, so I'm just going out and finding deals. I know that I can raise. I played golf today with someone who potentially is going to connect me to somebody who can lend. And these are all just conversations that I just have all the time with people. And when I feel like there's one to leverage, I then leverage it. Okay. So play golf, we had a conversation, they'll put me in touch and then we'll go from there. It might come to something, it might not, but at least we are, looking to raise money. And at least I've got deals to be able to say, this is how it works. This is what it is. Here's the property, here's the numbers, so on and so forth. But it all comes down to understanding the right deal and understanding how you're going to get them their money back out. So with private lending, it like lets you access unlimited capital from people who want to invest in property, but like just don't have the time or expertise to do it themselves. Like the majority of your investors, and this is probably one of the biggest mistakes that I see, is the majority of your investors are not going to be property people. Ideally, you don't want property people because property people who have experience, they would pretty much just go, well, I know how to do that, or I can just do that myself, or I want to use my own funds to grow my own wealth and secure assets that are going to pay me semi-passive income, so on and so forth. Ideally, you want people who are in a total different niche, like they've built a business themselves and they've done very well in that business, but they've got no experience in property. They just want, but they're busy in that business, so they also haven't got time to go and find properties and do deals and manage projects. So they just have a cash pot building up and up and up, and they need to put it to good use. And like that's the type of investor that really you want to be finding and that you will find done correctly, searching in the right way with the right brand and everything else, all the pieces that you pull together. And that's a better fit for long-term support because they're not ever going to get the itch and go, oh, well, actually, I think I'll just do this myself and I'm going to actually keep my funds and I'm going to go and buy some properties and then I'm going to go do this. And they might do, but in my experience, that doesn't seem to happen. People are very channeled on where they are and what they're going to do. We live in this like property bubble. Once you're in the property bubble and you start researching it, you kind of forget that what you didn't know before you got into it. Like before I sat in a seminar and someone started talking about deal sourcing on stage and the light bulb went off in my head, I just used to think that people went to work, saved up money, they then put down 25% deposit on a house, they then rented it to a tenant, made 300 quid a month from it, and they just repeated that cycle as and when their savings built back up. I couldn't see anything else. I couldn't see any creative strategies. I just was that was all I knew because you don't know what you don't know. But then when you get into the property world and you start researching, watching YouTube videos, going to masterclasses and so on and so forth, then you start to realize like what is possible with this and how creative you can get. And then you start to go, that's how so-and-so's got so many properties. That's how so-and-so is so wealthy. And the pieces of the puzzle all come together. But the people that you're going to want as your investors are the people like me before I went into that seminar and realized what is possible. Okay, the sort of I haven't got a clue about property. I just kind of know about it based on what mum and dad said or what's happened or what I've seen on the news. And then they're the people that go, oh, well, actually, I've got 100 grand in the bank. You're going to offer me whatever, 8% return, 10% return, sometimes more. And yeah, I'm happy with that. What's the security of it? It's against this property. This is the deal. This is how it's going to work. This is how I'm going to get you money back, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, right, cool. That all stacks for me. I am confident with that. So for me, there's kind of like three main benefits of raising private investor money. So one is speed. You can close deals a hell of a lot quicker and with more confidence with private investor money behind you. You know that sometimes the deals you may do full cash deals, and that plays in your favor with a lot of buyers. A lot of buyers like full cash. A lot of buyers like to move at speed because they know there's no mortgages to be arranged, bridge loans to be arranged, and so on and so forth. So therefore, they will say, "Oh, well, I'd rather have them, even though their offer is slightly less than that person who's stuck in a chain or they need to get a mortgage or whatever." So you become very appealing to a lot of vendors looking to sell their properties, and that speed element also helps you because it means that you can get a property, then another one, then another one, and another one. So in a typical year where you might buy, one at best, if you're lucky, out of your own savings, you might be able to buy four from lending other people's money and create four lots of cash flow for yourself rather than just the one. The next part of it is like the control element of it. So as the, I guess, more knowledgeable of the two parties in the property space, you get to like set your terms. Obviously, the terms have got to be fair. If they're not fair and you haven't created a win-win, then you're not going to get a relationship. You're not going to get any money from anyone. So you need to, make sure that the terms are fair, but it's not as strict as like, say, the bank saying, this is what it is. This is the affordability I need. These are the bank statements I need to see. This is this, and you've got to jump through all these hoops. You're actually the one setting the terms. So you say like, I need to borrow this money. It's against this property. I need it for this time frame. This is the terms. This is how I'm going to pay you back. This is what happens if it doesn't go right. This is what happens if it goes right, so on and so forth. And from that, you get to control the whole deal. So not only is it faster, but you also get to control. And like the kind of final few points on this is like the scalability of this. Like you can scale a portfolio faster than you can ever imagine by unlocking this skill set. Like you can go on whatever courses you want, you can learn whatever strategies you want, you can figure it all out. You can start saving, you can put money aside from your businesses. However, you will not, I'd put my whole portfolio on this, that somebody raising private money versus somebody trying to do it all off their own back, off their own money. The one raising money would build a portfolio 10 times the size as the one saving over whatever time frame you want to give. 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. It just, it's impossible to do it without private investor money on a scalable, a large scale model. So one thing that I want you to kind of really understand why we do all this is for our freedom. And a lot of you at the beginning, you're going to be like, it's for financial reasons. I want to, earn more. I want to be financially free. I want to get out my job, all that sort of stuff. And I totally get that. And, that was definitely me at the beginning. But as I've gone through my journey and, I've gone from like a huge portfolio and then scaled it right back down to a more quality portfolio, a more profitable portfolio. I think you realize that actually all we're doing this for is our freedom. So the freedom to be able to like play golf 4 times a week, go to the gym 4 times a week, spend as much time with your kids, decide when you go to work, wherever you want to go to work, go on as many holidays as you want a year, have, whatever time off you want to have time off. That is what I believe we build property portfolios for, is to give us those options, to be able to have that freedom to be able to do what we want. And the difference between a successful business and a successful semi-passive property portfolio is the majority of most businesses will still need you to exchange time for money. Now, I'm not saying that you're not going to work in your property business. I'm not saying that your contractor B&B business is going to run it by itself, because it is not, right? But it doesn't take as much time as the majority of other businesses that I have ever come across and ever been involved with to make the same amount of money. And as you get better and as you scale, you can then start putting people in play to then run your contractor B&B portfolio. So it does become very passive. Like I honestly work, I would say, less than 2 hours a week on my contractor B&B business as it stands right now. And that has been the case for,
What's wrong, honey? I'm coming.
years. So this is what you're working for. This is why you're learning. This is why you are interested in probably this masterclass. This is why you are interested in furthering yourself. And I think from the majority of people, it is a fantastic goal to strive for. And I cannot tell you how nice of a feeling it is to be able to wake up on a Monday morning and decide you want to do something totally different, and you're not having to, run to an office, or you're not having to go to a business and exchange time. I really hope that I can help as many of you as possible achieve that. But ultimately, the book does stop with you guys. You've got to be able to learn the skills, implement them, go forward, not just become a course junkie, and actually do something with it. So once you master this, I honestly think this is the superpower in property investing. And I think it's something that not too many people talk about, but no deal will ever feel out of reach again. Like, just imagine owning a portfolio that funds your lifestyle. It provides you true financial security. You've got confidence that you can structure a deal at any time for any property that benefits everybody. And you're creating this like generational wealth that changes your family tree forever, because that's what it's done for me. And that's what I see it happen for, many of my students that have, been on my program, still work with. I see them. They've all, changed their lives. They've all done better for themselves. They're all changing their families' lives by, just taking a chance on themselves. So let's just talk about, because I think there's a few things I want to talk about here, which I think are really important, because I speak to a lot of you in the DMs, and I kind of hear similar sort of conversations, and I see it all over the internet as well. But if you don't learn this skill, you'll always be limited by your own resources. That is a fact. You will keep watching opportunities pass you by, a bit like I did. Lost 2 deals last year because I didn't do this. All right. And it's not because I didn't have the skill. I just decided to do it on my own funds, just because I wanted to save some interest. All right. So it actually backfired slightly. But what I'm saying is, for those that have never done this, or definitely just putting their toe in the water with it, you're going to be stuck in the same cycle, trading time for money, if you do not learn this skill set.
Can't stop this.
If you do not, push forward with this. So the difference between those who succeed in property investing and those who don't is the ability to raise private money. Period. Yes, you might see some people who've got, nice rent-to-rent portfolios, or they've got, a few properties, but the ones that have masses and masses and masses, or multiples into the tens, some into the hundreds, are people that have been able to raise money. They have not been able to do that on their own. So I mentioned before about the guy who was deal sourcing in this chat, but there's a few myths that I want to break down. All right. And one of them is, if you think deal sourcing is the way forward, you really, really need to think again. Deal sourcing is fucking hard. All right. If you don't know what you're doing, and most people at the beginning think deal sourcing is the way to go. So, they go and search a lot of deals. They view a lot of properties. They spend a lot of time on this. You not only have to find the deal, but then you've also got to find an investor. And the investor that you're finding for a deal is totally different to the investor that you're going to find to loan you money. Two total different types of people. And the one who you're going to loan money from is a much easier sale than the one who's experienced in property, knows what they're talking about, and is looking to buy a deal. The deal sourcing industry in itself is saturated. There are so many deal sources because it's punted by a lot of training companies that you can get into this, save a bit of money up, and then buy properties. We've already talked about saving money up. Saving money is not going to build your wealth. Saving money is not going to build you a property portfolio. Raising money will build wealth. Raising money will build you a property portfolio. So you are better focusing your time on building your own portfolio by raising investor funds from day one. All the viewings you're going on, all the calls you're trying to make to investors, all the packs that you send out to people, all the negotiations you're doing with estate agents, if you focused all that time on raising money to buy your own deals, you would end up in a much better position. And again, I would bet my portfolio on that, pound for pound. Look at anybody, any of the successful deal sources out there, and tell me that they are richer than the people who are buying assets, because they're not. And tell me that they're earning more than the people that are buying assets, because they're not. So think about where you're spending your time. And don't get hooked into, oh, this is a beginner strategy, you can make some money, and then you move into buying assets. You do not need to be experienced to buy assets. You do not need to be experienced to raise money. You just need to know how to do it. You need to be able to confidently tell an investor how it works. You need to be confident in the type of property that you're purchasing so you know that it is going to work for you and the investor. Because once you've done it once and it works, they want to do it again and again and again. So that is like, all you got to do is unlock the thing. Similarly, if you think rent to rent is a way to build up cash to buy assets, then you really need to have a think about that. Because in my opinion, right now, and I've been through the pain of rent to rent is very, very, very high risk. I would actually say rent to rent is the most riskiest strategy in the property space, especially rent to SA. It's very competitive to find deals from landlords. It's saturated when hosting on Airbnb because the majority of you don't know the ContractorBnB strategy. So you go into the traditional tourism Airbnb game, very saturated. The average occupancy is somewhere around 50%, even though deal sources like to punt it out at 75s and 80%. And it will take you a long time to save the funds you need to buy any assets. So again, if you're going to focus your time on calling landlords, setting up properties, and then trying to build your funds, you'd be better off focusing your time on raising money and buying your own assets. I actually think if, for argument's sake, you've got $5,000, right? Let's just say you've got $5,000 in the bank. Most rent to rent is like, right, I'm going to get into rent to rent. I've got $5,000 that'll pay for me deposit and my furniture. You'd be better going to a private investor and saying, there's 5,000, just stick that in your bank account as a goodwill payment. Keep it for the rest of your life. Now can I borrow some money and can we do this deal? Because once you've borrowed that money and you've done the deal correctly, all things being, on par and you know what you're doing and the deal works, they're going to want to lend to you again. So that $5,000 that you've given away, which was going to set your rent to rent portfolio up and build your assets, right? You've given that away. That's actually bought you a private investor and the confidence in the private investor. And now you've got an investor for life. So not only do you buy one property, but over the next few years, you might buy 2, 3, 4 properties from their money. And as we mentioned earlier on the ContractorBnB strategy done correctly, each property is going to make around 24 grand a year. So you've now bought 4 assets from your 5 grand that you give away, which are now making you 100 grand a year income. Like, this is just how it works. I had to go through the pain. Rent to rent used to work very, very well 6 years ago. It doesn't work now, in my opinion. It does not work. So you're better off focusing your time on building your own portfolio and raising money. So I know this sounds interesting. I know it sounds very, very overwhelming, like especially if you've never raised money before. And that's exactly why I have created the ContractorBnB Club. Okay, so it's to give you the support, the tools, and the step-by-step systems to like master the skill of not only building raising money, but building a proper ContractorBnB property portfolio. And inside, so we go live on Monday. The doors are closing on Sunday. Inside for the next 6 months, I'm going to be working with the individuals that take up a spot. And it's like, we're going to teach you how to find investors, how to structure deals, how to pitch with confidence. And that's even if you're a complete beginner. We'll give you the deal evaluation tools. You'll have all my templates, calculators, all that sort of stuff, scripts, investor pitch decks. You'll get access to, all the tools that I've used to help me raise, the money that I've raised to fund my portfolio over the years, as well as regular, direct support from me, plus a community of like-minded people who are, going to help you guide you every step and are on the same journey. So this is not just about raising money. Like, this is about building a high cash flowing property portfolio on the ContractorBnB strategy and using systems that generate semi-passive income for life. And that gives you the freedom to step away from the grind. And like, everything from finding a deal, funding a deal, and filling a deal. So that includes the marketing, the systems, the processes, the ops. And then obviously at the beginning, it's like which properties to buy. Because I think one of the biggest things is people like, yeah, you can go and raise some money. Yeah, you could say to someone, but if you don't actually have the right deal and then it all falls through 9 months later, then you're in hot water. Then you get in difficult situations. The thing with property that I have learned, unfortunately, the hard way is you make one mistake in this game and it can be very, very, very costly. And I say this all the time, but like, one way or another, you're going to pay for it. So you either pay for it to get educated and you pay for it to get help in hand and cut the corners and move at speed, or you pay for it in costly mistakes. One way or another, you will pay for it. So it's up to you which one you want to pay for. But I'm telling you now that you will pay in one way or another to get into property. So I learned the hard way on many occasions that, trying to do it myself, not getting the right advice, and it cost me, more money had I just paid for the advice. So I think the biggest mistake that you can make right now is waiting for the perfect time. Like, there's no such thing. Deals are out there, money is out there. You just need to learn how to connect the dots. So, if you join today, I'll personally help you create your first investor pitch deck, so you can start raising private money within the next 30 days. I mentioned before, we go live on Monday for 6 months, and the doors are closing on Sunday. So the goal for the program is that we will get 2 live assets. I genuinely believe that you can source 1 deal per quarter. So, on my one program, which is a 12-month program, we look to source 4 properties within the year. It's 1 per quarter. This is a 6-month program. It's exactly the same. And the idea is those 2 assets will have a combined net income of 4K per month, plus plenty of equity in the properties, because we'll be buying them below market value. You'll have my eyes and ears over every single deal that you're looking at, so that you're buying the right stock. How am I so confident in these figures? Because I've ran this now for nearly 6 years. I've had the data through my hands. I've analyzed it and restructured my entire portfolio over the last 3 years just to focus on these type of assets. And when you buy these assets, they pretty much, in the right areas, they will literally open the door and they start earning this type of money. Again, I'll give you the marketing tools to get them full and make sure that you're getting contractors, give you the calendar optimizations, all that sort of stuff, give you the tips and everything that you need to do once they're live to be able to keep them full. That's all part of the program. But this works over and over and over again. It is literally a model that you can learn once, and then you just keep putting it into play over and over again for the next 5, 10, 20 years and build a property. I have conversations regularly with people who say, I'm going to start with this strategy, then I'm going to go move that, and then I'm going to go that, and then I'm going to go that, right? I jumped around a lot at the beginning as well. Buy-to-lets, HMOs, SAs, blah, blah, blah. You only need one strategy to be very, very wealthy. And my experience tells me that the more you focus on one thing, specialize in one thing, niche down in one thing, and become the expert in it, the better your results are and the more wealth you'll have, but also the less stressful it'll be and the happier and the more freedom that you'll have. So the investment is $599 a month only, like only $599 a month for 6 months. Okay, that's £3,594 to learn a skill that could bank you 50 to 100K income this year alone. Find 2 properties, you're going to add 50K a year to your life. Never mind the equity that you'll create in the portfolio. Find more properties. Each property is going to, on average, make about 24 grand a year. And then every year after, you own that property, and it's going to continue to pay you that income because of the marketing strategies and because of the brand that will help you build to be able to bring in the contractors time and time and time again. So all you then have to do is repeat the model. Once you've learned it all fully, you then go away and you just do it yourself. You then repeat it over and over and over. And then 2 properties this year becomes 4 properties next year. Then you buy 8 properties the year after. And all of a sudden you have a very, very nice portfolio, a very nice income, and a very nice generational wealth opportunity to pass down to your kids or your family or whoever you want to put it down. So, like, the only thing holding you back right now is your decision to start. Okay. And if you do want to do it, if you're serious about doing it, you want to achieve these goals, then all you need to do is DM me the word club on Instagram. There's only a few spots left. The maximum group size is 10. There's already some people locked in. So I'm only taking 10 people on because, I want to give it my all. If you want one of the spots, send me the word club on Instagram straight after this. I will send you the link to get locked in. And then, the first 10 to do that, or there's not even 10 spots left, but I'll let you know when the spots are done, but just get yourself locked in. Like, you don't need to have all the money in the world to get started. You just need to know how to find it. And once you do, everything changes. Like, I want to help you make that change genuinely. And I'm really excited about this. I cannot wait to launch on Monday. The group of people that are already in, really, really buzzing to help them. and it's going to be, a very, very successful 6 months for everybody that is involved. I can promise you that. So that is it. I will answer some questions. I see there's some in the chat. If anybody does have any questions, pop them in the chat now. But I'm only going to answer a few because I am running that bit out of time. So do you repay just interest and then the capital at the end, or monthly payments on interest? So I think there's many different ways that you can structure a deal. And that is one of my favorite ways to do it, yes, but it's not always been that way, and each investor is different. And this is where you've just got to kind of know what you're talking about, know what you can do with the finance side at the end and throughout the project, and then be able to put a deal together that works for everyone. Can you show us a recent example showing 25k net income per property from a semi-passive investment? I can show you as many as you want. If you have a look on my Instagram, there's plenty on there. There's plenty, just got the results page, you'll see plenty on there. Do you have any experience of pre-month refinance with SA mortgages and private investor finance, i.e. private investor for the 25% and, for example, bridge for the rest? I've had some really delayed refinance over the last year due to using private investor finance in this way, or is this why only 100% purchase price? Yes, I do. I quite often merge different types of finances together. So private investor money with bridging loans, not a problem at all. It's the way that you structure them, and then also the way that you may have the agreement at the beginning. If that's why I moved to loan notes, because it actually speeds up the exit of the bridging loan, because the paperwork isn't as much. So then it just speeds it all up. I think that kind of answers your question. Didn't fully understand it, but I think that's kind of what you're saying. If you already have a successful SA business with assets owned, would you investigate that business first, max profit? So yes, I think you do both. So like if you were to come to me and we were working together, and you already had an SA business with assets owned, I would help you investigate that and see how we could maximize the profit. For sure, there'll be plenty of things we can do with calendar optimization, the way that you're branding yourself, where you're advertising, how you're advertising yourself, ultimately what you're doing for outbound activity, how you're handling the inbound leads, so on and so forth. So there's many things that we can do on that side as well. Naturally, that is going to form part of the program, the 6-month program that we're going to go through, because there'll be people who are at that stage. I know I've already got some people who are, already have assets, and then there's people right at the beginning who are just ready to go. So there's going to be a balance between it all. But by the end of it all, you will know exactly how to run a contractor B&B business at the start, in the middle, and at the end, always. Will any town work for contract stage? No, not every town or city, but I would say the majority that I've ever explored do. Again, that comes down to experience and knowledge, and ultimately knowing how to figure out whether it does or doesn't work from there. So that is it. I am going to run. It's 10 to 10 for me here. So well past my bedtime. I hope that's been useful. As I said earlier, if you tag me on Instagram at RyanKLuke84, just take a screenshot, whatever, and I will send you the notes from this, plus the replay, and also my deal analyzer. If you do want to take a spot in the club before Sunday, I would get on that tonight. DM me the word club. I'll hang around for 10 minutes in my DMs to send some links out so you can get that locked in straight away. By 10 o'clock, I'll be gone. I wish you all the best for 2025. Whatever you do decide to do, keep building them better. And I'm sure I'll see you around the internet, if not in the club, on Monday for our first session. Take care, everyone. Peace out.